Good morning, living jet setters. Today we are off to Alexandria. Now Alexandria is a beautiful city here in Egypt, which is 2.5 hours away from Cairo. So I'm really eager to check that city out, and today we are actually going to be driving to Alexandria. So let's go. So we are on the way to Alexandria now. It's a long drive. So on the way, it's a nice foggy morning here. So if you want to do a day trip to Alexandria, the best way to do it is to start off early in the morning here, because it's a 2.5 hour drive and quite a bumpy one, I would say. But when we get to Alexandria, we'll come back to you again. We have taken a pit stop here on the way to Alexandria. Because remember, it's a 2.5 hour drive, so most of the tour companies here take a pit stop here at this area called Transit. So we're going to get some breakfast here and get fuel in our bodies and get going. Alexandria is the third largest city in Egypt after Cairo and Giza. It was also known as the former capital of Egypt from its founder, Alexander the Great, until its surrender to the Arab forces. Our first stop here in Alexandria is the Catacomb of al-Shafaka. So behind me is a sarcophagus, and the human face here represents Hercules. So the city of Alexandria has a lot of its culture coming from the Greek. So it's a mixture of Greek and Egyptian civilizations. The catacombs were named al-Shafaka, meaning mound of shards, because the area used to contain a mound of shards of terracotta, which mostly consisted of jars and objects made of clay. So we are right now inside the tomb of Tigress, and as you can see, they used to place the sarcophagus here inside the tomb. And these beautiful paintings are called frescoes, and this used to be done when the paint used to be wet and then let to dry. This is all restored, and it's beautiful. The tombs at al-Shafaka are thought to have originally belonged to a single wealthy Roman family that began using it for burials around the 2nd century AD. However, the complex was significantly expanded, and it was used throughout the 4th century AD. So you can see the shafts. These were used to lower the corpses down into the catacomb. So they used to lower the body from up above into this tunnel, you could say, and then move the body towards the catacomb area. This is the area where they actually used to have a feast for the relatives of the dead. So there used to be a table placed here. It's like a living room area, and then the whole day they used to say prayers, recite hymns and prayers, and basically have a feast. So basically to celebrate the life of the dead. So we are inside one of the catacombs here. So this used to be the resting place for the dead. It contains a large number of graves, including a mass grave of animal and human remains that is attributed to a mass execution carried out in Alexandria by the Roman Emperor Caracola. So this catacomb dates back to 300 BC, and there is actually a mummy inside here. It's because it's completely sealed with stone, so there's still a mummy inside there from 300 BC. Inside the catacombs here, there are multiple tombs, and it's really mind-boggling as to how many bodies were laid here. Okay guys, so we're going to go and explore this area. Pretty spooky, but let's go, come. So we've entered one of the area here, and let's see what do we find. right or left. There are a lot of more. So there are many more tombs here. I think we're exploring this area on our own. That was a unique experience exploring that area on your own. So this part of the tomb is the Romans.
This all for Romans.
Roman. So we just finished our visit here at the Catacombs and we're off to our next visit, our next stop in Alexandria. Let's go. So the next stop on our visit to Alexandria is Pompeys Pillar. Welcome to Pompeys Pillar. So the height of the pillar is 30 meters long and the surrounding ground was used as a burial ground.
Ever wondered why it got its name Pompeys Pillar? Well, in the Middle Ages, the Crusaders believed that the ashes or remains of the great Roman general Pompey were in a pot at the top of the column, and that's how it got its nickname, Pompeys Pillar.
The Sphinx here, which represents a half lion and the head of a man, is used to protect important structures and monuments. So that's why mostly in front of majority of the main structures, you will find two Sphinx at the entrance guarding the structure. So this was actually a small library and they used to actually keep books. This was like a bookshelf in the library.
After our visit to Pompeys Pillar, we decided to head in to Alexandria City and explore the city surroundings. Meanwhile, we started getting a bit peckish for lunch and decided to stop by a restaurant right by the Corniche area.
So we have now stopped for lunch here in Alexandria along the Corniche, and this restaurant seems so beautiful because it has great views of the Mediterranean Sea.
Sultan Qaitbay built this fortress around the 14th century. Its main purpose was to defend Alexandria from the advances of the Ottoman Empire. The citadel of Qaitbay in Alexandria is considered one of the most important defensive strongholds not only in Egypt but also along the Mediterranean Sea. The fortress's current form is not the original. It was heavily damaged during the British bombarding of Alexandria during a nationalist uprising against British hegemony in 1882 and rebuilt around the turn of the 20th century. As with most things in Alexandria, the building itself is not what is most significant about this location. Qaitbay built the fortress here to take advantage of an existing foundation on the site, that of the legendary Pharaoh's Lighthouse, which by the 14th century had fallen into ruins due to repeated damage by earthquakes. The citadel has long since given up any military function. Today, it houses a small naval museum. But it might be worth a visit to explore the inside of the fortress and imagine the huge structure that stood once in its foundation. The citadel is situated at the entrance of the eastern harbour on the eastern point of the Faroes Island. It was erected on the exact site of the famous Lighthouse of Alexandria, which was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world.
So we finished the fortress. Now we are back on the road again, and our last stop on this trip is the Alexandria Library. Now apparently a lot of people told me that the library has this stunning architecture and the shape of it is pretty unique, so I'm very curious to check that out. So once we do the library, then we are back on the road again to Cairo. So we are here at the Library of Alexandria. As you can see behind me, the beautiful architecture, it's just spectacular. Unfortunately, I think the library is closed for today, so all we can do is observe from the outside.
The Bibliotheca Alexandrina, or Library of Alexandria, is a major library and cultural center on the shore of the Mediterranean Sea in the Egyptian city of Alexandria. In 2010, the library received a donation of 5 lakh books from the Bibliothèque Nationale de France. The gift makes the Bibliotheca Alexandrina the 6th largest francophone library in the world.
So that's all to see here at the Alexandria Library, and the time right now is 4:30 and we have a 2.5 hour drive back to Cairo. So that's it from here. Let's go head back into our van and head to Cairo. So then we are back on the streets of Cairo. We just reached back. So it was a good trip down to Alexandria. We hope you had fun watching it through our eyes. Well, we certainly did. And was it worth it, the day trip going to Alexandria? Well, I certainly do feel so it was. If you guys did like that video, please do like, share and subscribe. Until we meet again. See ya.